a long, long time, and left for a minute, and then next thing you know, it was all over.
Thank you.
Yeah. I won't vote. House Bill 135.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, appreciate your patience. HB 135 deals with veteran benefits, basically makes it an unlawful, fraudulent, or practice under the Virginia Consumer Protection Act to assign a veteran benefits that otherwise prohibited or void under specific federal anti-assignment acts. So just as you know, this has become an explosion. I've had.
Can you get closer to the mic?
I'm sorry. Some constituents that have brought this up to me, these are veterans that get approached by really just loan sharks that go and say, listen, you want quick cash, assign us your veteran benefits. What they don't know is they're signing away their veteran benefits plus 50% commission plus interest rates up to 240%. And so you literally have federal cases. The FBI has estimated that veterans have lost $500 million in benefits by what has happened with these and this is in violation of federal anti-assignment laws. So you cannot be assigning your benefits to these third-party groups, but you've had these groups that have come in like locusts, taking advantage of a lot of our veterans that have done this.
Prosecuted?
Yes, they're right now being prosecuted in 33 different states have open cases. Most states are now starting to incorporate this in their state law. So we have the Virginia Consumer Protection Act that allows you, as you know, to go after in a civil matter in a state level. So that's the basis of this, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or it's a pleasure of the body to consider passing.
Are there any questions of the patron by the committee? Senator Evans.
Yeah, Delegate, is this legal under federal law? How's that legal?
It's illegal, I'm sorry.
Oh, it
It
is
is
illegal.
currently illegal under federal law, but these groups come in, they're very aggressive. There's one outfit out of South Carolina, another one out of California that have done this. So they have been very, very aggressive, and they move on. So it's already illegal under federal law to do this anti-assignment laws, but this gives them protection under state law and the Virginia Consumer Protection
Okay, so what you're saying then is it just gives us the right to enforce it as well?
in state court, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to being illegal, is it void?
That's what, there's been multiple cases where they have said it's void, these actions are void, but what has happened is they have come in and they have reaped the benefits. These companies have reaped the benefits already, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Bell.
does this fall under protection with the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act? Or would it not fall there if there were retirees or people who had already?
I'm not specific to know that. My understanding is that's generally when people try to get a judgment with somebody who is deployed. So I do not know if this generally falls underneath that act or not, to be honest with you.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience in support? Anyone here violating the law on oppose the bill? All right. It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 135 be reported. All those in favor, record your vote yea, and those opposed nay.
Ayes 14, no zero.
All right, bill is reported. All right, the next bill, Delegate Reed. See here. Delegate Reed, you have House Bill 714.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Which is similar to Barbara Favola's
Mr.
Senate
Chairman,
Bill 94, and we're going to conform yours to hers. And it then goes to finance. It'll come out. You all get it worked out in conference.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, there's a motion and a second to conform Delegate Reed's bill to Senator Favola's SB 94. All those in favor, I think we have to record the vote. Aye. Aye. Pardon? I conformed it as a sub, so we don't have to. Okay, we're conforming it as a substitute, all right? And, all right, the substitute is now before us. The motion should be to report and refer to finance. All right, all those in favor, record your vote yes. Those opposed, nay. Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
You bet.
committee members.
I was 11 those too.
all right. The next is, in fact, it's Delegate Guzman's bill, and her bill was House Bill 582, somewhat similar to my bill, which is 939. That's the collective bargaining. Mine's, as you know, is strictly local option for local governments and school boards, and that's it. Okay, second? Is there a second? Okay, all
Mr.
those in
Chairman,
favor?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I speak really briefly?
Sure.
I don't think, to that motion, I don't think we had public testimony originally of the bill. Could we just hear, just really briefly, the difference in the structure? Because I got a number of calls over the weekend
Yeah, the
from
difference
constituents.
is hers mandates it but not only local government, I think also state. That's a huge difference.
And can I ask her a question?
Sure.
Okay, so I had heard from my local school board that wanted it in a few other localities, that there was not a structure in Senator Saslow's bill in place to kind of referee this or make it happen in some kind of uniform way. Does your bill cover that?
Mr. Chairman, if Senator Evan, what I would start by saying is that my bill, we work in developing the bill for at least the past 3 months, including different stakeholders in the conversation, from workers that across the state that were able to come up with a language that will be in agreement for, as I mentioned, for teachers, firefighters, for workers. It also, we work in coordination with the Attorney General, who helped us, who suggested provide a framework, because if we said we are gonna allow some localities to go through collective bargaining, then some localities, as you mentioned, are worried about that they'll be at loss on what to do without any process. The final thing that I would say, it also talks about creating a public elections, employee relations board, public employee relations board that will be a 3-member body that will be appointed by the governor. And there is money allocated in the House of Appropriations to help with the setup process. And it has, in the House, it came with 45 co-patrons and 54 Democrats voted for it.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, just one comment before we go.
Sure.
I just hope if this is going to go to conference, that we recognize that in a lot of places, that if we just have this be a free-for-all, where there's a different process in all these different localities, that this may not work out as it might be intended by the
Well,
sponsors.
if I can get language that everybody agrees to on a framework, but one of the things that she had in there was that if, one of the elements, voted to have that, but the local government didn't, they could force a vote. And mine is strictly local opt-in by local governments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not completely satisfied with your bill, but my thinking is if we get it conformed, they'll do what they need to do in the House, we'll do what we need to do in the Senate, we'll get it in conference and get it worked out.
See if it works out. All right. There's been a motion and a second to conform 582 to Senate Bill 939. All those in favor of, it would be then become a substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, opposed? All right, the substitute is now before us. The motion would be, is there anyone who wants to testify in favor of the bill? Anyone in opposition? No, okay. Report, it should be report and refer to, whoops, here comes somebody. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Doris Krause-Mays, President of the Virginia AFL-CIO. And Virginia is one of 3 states that doesn't allow public employees to have collective bargaining. It is time that we recognize all of our workers in this state, whether they work for a locality or whether they work for the state, that they have a voice and a say on the job, and it is time that we give workers these rights. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Don Baylor. I am with the National Coalition of Public Safety Officers. I'm also a retired 27-year veteran of the Department of Corrections. For years, I've been coming before this body trying to provide solutions to some of the problems that have been faced and some of the problems that feed massive turnover in the department that I grew up in. And we've been unable to solve these problems. And I would suggest that with a measure such as collective bargaining, we could finally start to bring solutions to the table by involving the front line. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Kathy Bircher with the Virginia Education Association. We also support the legislation. And we appreciate the comments by both Senator Deeds and Eben about the concern about ensuring that our localities that want to participate in this have enough of a framework so they can have a successful opportunity to bargain with their employees. We are supportive of the legislation and look forward to getting a good bill out of conference.
Good afternoon, Jim Avery. I'm speaking on behalf of Virginia Building and Trades Council, Virginia Building and Construction Trades Council, and we support this bill, urge its passing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Fink-Haynes with the Virginia American Federation of Teachers. On behalf of our members across the state, we support educators' rights to collective bargaining, teachers' working conditions, our students' learning conditions, and we think it's critical that educators have a voice on the job and help to shape the learning conditions and improve learning conditions of our young children. So we urge the committee to support collective bargaining rights for all Virginians and look forward to seeing a strong bill come out of conference committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Joe Morales with Virginia Professional Firefighters. We have over 8,000 members throughout the state. I'm from Northern Virginia, I'm from Prince William. We're not gonna have to worry about this issue if this is up to the localities. It's our brothers and sisters in the rural counties that are dealing with the issues of understaffed apparatus, who are underpaid and don't have the resources that they need. And that's why we support a stronger bill that will give all collective bargaining rights to everybody.
Let me explain something. The votes, including mine, aren't there for expansion beyond local government. I want to be as clear as I can. When I agreed, talking with some people to put this bill in, that's what I made it abundantly clear. It was for local government employees only. And if it goes beyond that, there's myself and probably a few others that may not be voting for it on the floor. So you'd have to make a choice. Do you want something or you want all, is it all or nothing? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the committee, Charlie Jackson on behalf of the Service Employees International Union. Senator, we thank you for your leadership on the issue. In your bill, we prefer Delegate Guzman's bill. There's a lot of talk about mandates. We believe that Delegate Guzman's bill allows for the freedom for workers at a local level to unionize. We don't believe it's a mandate on the localities, but we believe each workers, local government workers, localities across the state deserve the freedom to have a union if they want one, that not to be controlled by their local board of supervisors. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Alex Townsend on behalf of AFSCME. I just wanted to speak to what Senator Eben was saying earlier, that we also heard from just workers as well as some other, as we've been seeing counties and localities say that they need some form of a guideline or, to help them implement something that were come before them in terms of collective bargaining. So again, we also support a stronger bill in the form of Delegate Guzman's.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Stacey Haney. I represent the Virginia School Boards Association. The Virginia School Boards Association is opposed to this legislation and opposes any legislation that would authorize collective bargaining for school employees. We've heard from teachers and proponents of the legislation. Again, I'm speaking only to the piece regarding schools, but what we've heard from teachers is that they hope to achieve through collective bargaining is better pay, more planning time, more support staff to reduce the burdens on teachers. And we agree that teachers deserve those things. What we disagree about is the best way to get those things. And if you believe, as we do, that teachers deserve more pay, then we think that the General Assembly should increase their pay. If you believe that too many demands have been placed on our teachers, as we do, then the solution to that is to eliminate the support staff cap. If you believe that teachers deserve more planning time, then give them more planning time. What we don't believe is that collective bargaining is the way to improve working conditions for our teachers. And so we don't believe that collective bargaining will solve these problems. We believe that collective bargaining will drive up costs and divert precious resources away from classrooms. And the money will instead be spent on lawyers and arbitrations and protracted bargaining and all the other costs that we know go along with collective bargaining and a unionized workforce. And we would urge that you not support this legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, let me ask you something. I would assume that the local governments and local school boards know how to say no if it's not doable, okay? And there is a very strict prohibition in here against strikes, okay? So, you know what you can afford. I agree with you, the state needs to do more. I don't think anybody here would argue that we are underfunding K through 12. But, I don't see, if you got 46, 47 states that are doing this and civilization is still, going, the sun rises, it's not going to come apart because of a bill like mine or Delegate Guzman's. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I understood, although the numbers for teachers are different than for local governments. So for states that prohibit all local governments, I have heard it's 47, but states that prohibit teachers, it's actually 34, 36. So the states that prohibit, the numbers are much different when we're just talking about teachers. And again, that's the piece that I'm addressing. And actually, Mr. Chairman, to your point, I think if you read the bill carefully, this bill, your bill, arguably does allow teachers to strike.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't allow employees of counties, cities, or towns to strike, but school board employees, teachers aren't employees of counties, cities, and towns. Teachers are employees of school boards. And so when you look at the definition, and I can give you the line number, Mr. Chairman.
Local government employee, they're local employees, and if they strike, they're fired.
The way the current bill is drafted, school board employees
There's a lot of lawyers that
are
agree with you.
are carved out.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Very briefly, if you could just return for a question, ma'am. I've heard from some school board members that they want this bill. Are you saying that all school boards don't, or you're representing the association?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Edmond, I represent the Virginia School Boards Association, which is the voluntary association of all the school boards in the state, and the association's position is opposed to even the Senator Saslaw's, I understand it's permissive, but we're opposed to even his bill.
Fairfax County School Board is in favor of my bill.
And
I understand that, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, under this bill, though, could the school boards not use this kind of process to ask for more planning time or support cap changed if the locality's resources were up for it, were up to it?
That's 15.
When you bargain, can you not ask for more planning time?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Senator Edmond, I think that's the things that, the bargaining is going to be between the school board
That's
and the
correct.
teachers union. So I think that it would be the VEA that's asking for all those things. My point, Senator Edmond, was that I agree that teachers deserve all those things, but collective bargaining puts it on the backs of the localities, and it's our position that the state should help fund those things.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Let me
Chairman.
just comment one thing. I've been here a long, long time, a real long time. And I have never seen the Virginia Education Association ever come in here and ask for anything that was even remotely unreasonable. They've been as responsible as any unit that comes before this committee.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, appreciate your candidness, and I'm Ben Knotts on behalf of Americans for Prosperity. We do oppose the legislation. Do want to just reinforce a couple things. West Virginia had a ban on teachers protesting, and we all know how that turned out. They were shut down because of their fiscal impact statement. They couldn't do exactly what they were demanding. And I think the greater question is do we feel like the people advocating for this, like the VEA, that they lack lobbying power? Do we feel like that? And if you feel like you're being lobbied to them to pass this, I would say that suggests that, no, they don't lack that support. So I would just make the argument. And one more thing I did want to present is A recent article came out that said Virginia Education Association wants collective bargaining for teachers, but talks with its own employees led to lawsuits and sanctions. And I just want to submit that just as a highlight there. But we do appreciate the outcome and making sure people get paid, but we do oppose this legislation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Eric Risen with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We have concerns with this legislation primarily because of the potential cost to the taxpayer, and just wanted to voice those concerns, and thank you for the consideration. Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, John Kalb, National Right to Work Committee, here in opposition to this bill. The bill is bad for workers who do not want union representation. It's bad for taxpayers. The Heritage Foundation found a number of years ago that implementing bargaining increases the tax burden for a family of 4 by $3,000 a year. And it's bad for our representative form of government. As the North Carolina, U.S. District Court in North Carolina said, upholding their law banning public sector bargaining, to the extent that public employees gain power through recognition and collective bargaining, other interest groups with a right to a voice in the running of the government may be left out of vital political decisions. For all these reasons, I urge you to oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Terry Durkin representing the Roanoke Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we oppose this bill.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Brett Vassey, Virginia Manufacturers Association. We associate our comments with the previous speakers. We oppose the bill.
Nicole?
Mr. Chairman, Nicole Riley with NFIB representing small business owners. Our small business owners are concerned about the very strong likelihood of their property taxes being increased. The fact that this would limit the flexibility of trying to address salaries in downturn times, and whether or not you're faced with a contract that is arbitrarily demanding and requires a pay increase during a downtime. Our members are very concerned that they would see their property taxes raised. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Jeremy Bennett with the Virginia Association of Counties. Just want to say that we oppose any effort to mandate collective bargaining upon public employees.
My bill doesn't do that.
And appreciate working with your office to address some of those concerns.
Mr. Chairman, John Suswick with Virginia Professional Educators. We're the state's non-union teachers association. Speaking strictly on HB 582, I agree with Jeremy. We oppose any effort to mandate collective bargaining. We're also concerned that under HB 582, all teachers' home addresses, cell phone numbers, personal email addresses would be forwarded by the school board to the exclusive bargaining agent. This is both wrong and very dangerous for teachers. Under HB 582, the bill allows an unwanted, uninvited bargaining agent to be informed of a teacher's private personnel issues, which often also include private medical issues. And at all steps of a grievance process, the bargaining agent would have access to the teacher's issues, and a teacher can't say no to that. Also, HB 582, once an exclusive bargaining agent is established, the only way a member of that bargaining agent can drop payroll deductions is through the union itself, not through the school board. Finally, HB 582 creates an atmosphere which virtually guarantees that many teachers will be repeatedly pressured, harassed, and intimidated into making decisions or signing union certification cards just to make the harassers go away. VPE strongly feels that all collective bargaining bills need to have protections included to maintain teachers' privacy and confidential information, their freedom of speech and freedom of association, and protection from harassment, intimidation, and financial abuses. This is especially true because HB 582 violates those rights. Thank you, sir.
Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand that, vote counts are vote counts, but I had the privilege for a while to run a state agency, and this isn't all about money. It's also about communicating with your employees and what their situations is. I ran a juvenile correctional agency, and I wanted to hear from my employees. I wanted it to come up through a structured dialogue and not people fearful that if they gave me bad news that there would be retribution and what have you. I think it can be a very, very healthy thing. Obviously, it can go in a wrong direction. Anything can. But the notion that people coming forward and letting you know about their working conditions and about the professionalism that they're engaged in, that if they don't think that those conditions are being met because of the way management is running things. It is a form of dialogue. It's a more structured one, I'll admit, but it has value, and it's not all about money. And I hope that in the conference that's likely to take place here is that we move more in that direction, and for the state to mandate it on localities and not take on the responsibility themselves makes me a little uncomfortable, but I get it. Thank you.
We're not mandating it. That's the difference between my bill and hers. Doesn't mandate it. Okay. Delegate Guzman, you want to wrap up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to just address a few points that are relevant to your bill as well, because I think that it's important for everyone in the audience, including the committee members, to have factual information. And I would start by saying when the teachers will advocate for more money, and then the school boards won't be able to afford that expense, which is inaccurate. You know, the government body will retain their power of appropriations the same way that we have here in the Virginia Assembly, where we have a budget. There are so many things that we want fulfilled, but we have to make a priority list and fund those causes. As far as bringing the fact of 36 states, those 36 states are actually the ones who have a public employee relations board. And states like recent as Nevada, they passed a collective bargaining bill, and there have not been, spending a lot of money, as it was mentioned before. The strike is addressed in a different code, and you are absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman. If there is someone who strikes right now, according to what the code reads, that person will be dismissed from employment. And finally, you know, the belief that having collective bargaining will lead to higher taxes, it's false, Mr. Chairman and members of that committee. There's nothing on your bill or my bill that requires higher taxes or requires large pay raises. The collective bargaining process is sensitive to local fiscal conditions and the governing body of all local jurisdictions, including the school boards, retains the right to approve or disapprove any expenditure. And I will just to conclude by what Senator Marsden was saying, and by hearing the chamber and all of individuals who represent the private sector, Mr. Chairman, the most recent and successful leading practices talk about having your employee at the table to have conversations about benefits, to have conversations about safety. So I'm just, disappointed to hear that, but the reality is that we are here to represent the people of Virginia, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. The motion would have to be, we've already conformed it to mine. The motion would be to report and refer to finance.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, all those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, and thank you, Ms. Guzman, and we'll get some stuff worked out.
I have one more.
Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
I have one more. Bill.
Okay, well, let's.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to stop. Can I just say something real quickly about it? I did hear somebody, I think it was Senator Marsden, say that it's not always about money. But I would respectfully submit that in this case, it is all about money. And I will tell you that I have not heard from a single teacher, frontline teacher in my district who has been asking me for this bill. What I have heard is from the VEA. I have heard from public employee unions and other organized labor groups, and I understand how it works. This is like so many other bills that we've seen this year. I mean, I was born at night, but not last night. I understand that this is just a start. And while this doesn't include provisions for striking, and it's permissive, I know it's coming. What we have here is an ability for the public employee unions, VEA and others, to raise money, to force teachers into membership, into paying dues. Those dues are going to be used for reasons that are maybe unrelated to the priorities of those frontline teachers. We have seen millions and millions of public employee union dues spent in political races in Virginia. And I hear people talking about not wanting to have big money determine the outcome of races. But you look at some of the races over the course of the past couple of years, and we've seen an enormous sum from public employee unions coming in. And this is going to be the biggest coup that public employee unions in Virginia and organizations have had in their fundraising capability. And they're going to celebrate this, and it's going to impact elections in the future, and is going to impact policy in the future. And I appreciate what the chairman said about not wanting, not permitting striking, not wanting and not permitting state employee collective bargaining. And I take him at his word, and I believe him with all of my heart. But it's coming. If we pass this, it is coming. Mark my words.
Senator Norman.
Mr. Chairman, a little different take on it. We've got a very ambitious agenda that you are trying desperately to manage, and there's a lot of things that can be said about you, Mr. Chairman, but the clarity with which you speak is certainly not a criticism that can come up. And I respect there are people out here that have to do their jobs, but honestly, I think some of you are tone deaf. The chairman could not made it any clearer what was going to happen with this bill on it. And I appreciate you get invested in legislation, and you got to feel like you advocated for it. But he couldn't have been clearer. And here, we've done one bill. One bill.
Okay. And by the way, with respect to union contributions and things like that, of course, we all know the business community doesn't contribute anything to any election, so, we'll let it go with that. Anyway, all right, we got a motion to report and refer to finance. All those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. All right.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
All right, bill is reported and referred to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
What was you said you had another bill?
House Bill 617.
Oh, okay, workers' comp bill, okay. Yeah, that's your repetitive motion?
Yes, it's,
Right.
it's a result, may I start?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 617 is the result of a JLARC study where, well, number one, I would start by saying that Virginia is the only state that does not cover repetitive motion. And as part of the JLARC study, they recommended to direct the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission to hire a reputable and independent research organization with expertise in workers' compensation policy to develop options for covering cumulative trauma injuries in Virginia. And these recommendations will come before the members of Finance and the House of Appropriations by November 30th of 2020.
So it's more or less the bill's a study.
It's a study, sir.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. It's a study that is asking for the Workers' Compensation Commission because we don't know, as there are two recommendations. One was to go ahead and implement it since we are the only state who doesn't do it. But there was a second recommendation to do the study by hiring a consultant firm, and that was the will of the House, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, questions of the patron. This is a study. All right, Senator Norman? No. All right, there's a motion to report. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor of reporting House Bill 617, vote aye. Those opposed, no.
All right.
Ayes 12,
All
noes
right.
3.
Ms. Guzman, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Did I
Chairman.
pronounce it right? Guzman.
It's
Right?
okay.
Guzman.
Members of the,
One of these
it's
days
fine.
I'll get it
Either
right.
way, I'm okay with
Call
it.
you anything, but don't call you late for lunch, huh?
Okay, exactly.
Right, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have House Bill 1251. That that's Delegate Torian's bill having to do, I think it's with balanced billing. Isn't that right, Mr. Counsel? Yes, sir. Okay, and what we're going to do to get the process moving.
I move we conform that to Senator Favola's
To
bill.
Senator Favola's bill, that's SB 172.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to, all right, it's been moved and seconded to conform and turn this into a substitute. It'll become a substitute similar to Senator Favola's bill. All those in favor of conforming it in the form of a substitute, say aye. Aye. All right, the bill's before us and it has to go to finance. All right, there's a motion, report, refer to finance. All those in favor, vote aye. All right, that's done. Okay, now we.
That's 13, those two.
Go back up to the top. Is Delegate Corey here? You want to come up? Delegate Corey, your bill is similar to 988.
Senator Lucas' bill, yeah.
And this bill does, hold on. What exactly does your?
It creates a pilot electric school bus program.
Oh, that's right, okay.
With Dominion,
All right.
and asks the SEC to approve it.
Right. And let me remind everybody here, Senator Lucas's bill has left, is added, has passed through the Senate.
Right.
What we'll do, is your bill identical to hers?
No, it's not identical. There are some differences we have to work out.
Okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll conform yours to hers, you conform hers to yours.
Okay.
We'll go to conference and get it straightened out. Okay, it's a motion second to conform as a substitute, which will become a substitute, House Bill 75, similar to Senate Bill 988. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, all right, it's now before us. Motion and a second to report House Bill 75 in the form of a substitute. All those in favor, vote aye.
That's 13, those two.
Thank you.
You're done.
Thank you. And the school children, thank you too.
Okay. All right. House Bill 167, Delegate Weyer. Tell us what your bill does.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And heedful of Senator Norman's remarks, I'll be very brief, and but I can have others come up and say a little bit more about it. Essentially, what House Bill 167 does is if a utility signs new contracts it's not already using to deliver gas to its plants, the bill ensures the ratepayers only pay for the contracts if they are necessary and lowest cost, according to a determination by the State Corporation Commission. The bill sets those parameters. There were early some concerns about this bill, but there have been a number of discussions and several amendments in connection with those who are concerned. And at this point, the bill has no known opposition, passed the House 99-0 because of that. And Mr. Chairman, that's a brief description of it. I'd be glad to expand on that if you care to.
Senator Norman?
I move to report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 167. All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members.
Okay. Delegate Carol Foy. Not here. All right. Delegate Subramaniam. I know I'm mispronouncing your name, and I apologize. Close enough for government work, huh? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill is HB 528.
Okay. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be brief, and there's others that can speak to it. But essentially, this is a bill to restore the SEC's ability to determine the amortization period for the recovery costs of any retirement of coal and gas plants. And so up until 2013, there was a job of the SEC to determine the amortization of these plant retirements, and we want to restore that authority. And the testimony on the House side basically essentially said that the SEC has this expertise and has the ability to do this, and if anyone in the commission here wants to speak to that, they can. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on one second, Bill. Okay, Senator Deeds.
Mr. Chair, is this a commission bill?
It's not, no.
Where did it come from?
This is essentially, this is a vehicle to basically help ratepayers, help protect ratepayers, because if the SEC is in charge of this duty, they're in a better position to protect ratepayers.
Mr. Chair, when did the State Corporation Commission lose the power to make this decision?
I believe it was in 2013. Someone might be able to correct me, but I believe it was in 2013.
Senator Norman.
I understand what it does, but following up on Senator Deeds' question, where did this proposed legislation come from?
So where did I get the idea for it? In consultation with several people who practiced before the SEC, and some of them can actually come speak to it if you'd like to talk to them.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the reason I ask is I know the legislators that work in electrical related issues, and I was kind of curious, so that's why I asked the question.
Okay, any other questions of the patron? All right, those that want to speak in favor of the bill? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Will Cleveland. I'm an attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center. I practice in front of the commission. I thank the patron for the bill, and we do support it. I think it's good for ratepayers. This is something that was taken away from the commission in 2018, 2 years ago. And we'd like to restore this power to the commission so they can protect the ratepayer. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, could you
Senator
tell me what bill took it away? What was there legislation that took this power away?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Deeds, it was the Grid Transportation and Security Act, Senate Bill 966 from 2 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Will Reisinger. I'm here speaking on behalf of Clean Virginia, which is a 501c4 nonprofit organization based in Charlottesville. We support this bill for the same reasons that Mr. Cleveland just discussed. This does not require the retirement of any facilities. All it does say that if facilities are retired early, the State Corporation Commission will have the authority to determine what's best in terms of cost recovery for these facilities. And this is the type of authority that the Commission has with regard to all other public utilities operating in the Commonwealth except for Dominion and Appalachian Power. We think this is a good bill for ratepayers.
Can you all just tell me, is this going to accelerate or slow down depreciation?
This bill just allows the commission to determine
I know,
the
but
correct.
what do you want? What do you expect it to do? I mean,
What-
you got to have a reason, and it's either going to speed it up or slow it down. What is it?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I can answer the senator, this does not speed it up or slow it down.
I know, but you expect the Corporation Commission to do one or the other. What is it?
We expect the Corporation Commission to take into account the interests of the utility and the interests of the customers, and to make the determination that is in the best interest of the public.
So
And
you're
this
not going
is,
to answer my question.
it could be recovered in 1 year if the commission determines that's appropriate, or it could be recovered over multiple years if the commission determines that's appropriate.
Okay,
Thank you.
next. Welcome, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Bob Shippey with Sierra Club. We support the bill for the reasons that both wills have stated.
Thank you.
Walter Chubb with the Natural Resource Defense Council. We support this as a sensible tool for the SCC to have as we transition our energy sector. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Harrison Wallace, Chesapeake Climate Action Network, and we support the bill for
Okay.
the same reason the will said.
All right, anyone in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, Meade Browder, Attorney General's Office, a little late to the room. Attorney General's Office also supports
Okay.
the bill as a good ratepayer protection measure.
All right. Opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, John Watkins here on behalf of Dominion Energy. This began as an SCC study to look at how to handle the discharge, if you would, of coal and gas plants and when they would go out of commission. It is now a Section 1 bill, and it begins with the term that those of us who've been in the legislature for a while often quake at, and it says notwithstanding any other provision of law in a Section 1 bill. So it overrides everything. Typically, you see that notwithstanding in something like a budget, and a budget is done and expires in 2 years. It's very atypical to see it in legislation like this. We're concerned that it overrides some of the provisions of the GTSA, that it in fact will change the methodologies, if you would, of how the ratepayers are going to absolutely pay for the shutting down of these plants. There are several long-term consequential legislative actions that are underway this year that this bill will affect. If Senate Bill 851, Senator McClellan's bill passes, this could very well override parts of it. And that bears some concern on all of our part. So we oppose the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
One possibility, I guess, would be to strike, notwithstanding any other provision of law.
Mr. Chairman, having worked on the peripheral of electrical issues for many, many years and have had a very sophomore experience on state budgets, I would have to concur with Mr. Watkins' observation about this notwithstanding. That can be very treacherous because of the ripple effect of it, and I would make a motion to strike the language pertaining to notwithstanding, and the balance of the bill would remain.
There's a motion and a second. To strike on line 9, after number 1, notwithstanding any other provision of the law. So the sentence would then start, the State Corporation Commission has determined the amortization period.
Mr. Chairman, can we hear from the patron of how he feels about this amendment?
Is this a friendly amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I am the friendliest guy that you would know, sir.
All right.
I'm fine with the amendment. That's
Okay.
the will of the committee.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman?
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
There's a motion and a second.
To accept the amendment?
Yes. All right, all those in favor of accepting the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, one no, 1 or 2 noes, okay.
Mr.
All right,
Chairman?
so the bill's now been amended.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The bill, one of the speakers reflected that it's sort of balancing the interests of the utility and the ratepayer, but the bill only really talks about the ratepayer. Could you address that? Where is the utility addressed in this bill and their interests? Because it just says that under number little I2, establish a recovery period that best serves ratepayers. And that it was reflected earlier that it was sort of, looking at both sides' interests here, and it just seems that only the ratepayers are, which is a good thing, but only the ratepayers are being addressed here.
So Mr. Chair, I would tell the senator that, the utilities are still in charge of when the facilities are retired. It's just the amortization. It's the aim of the bill to protect ratepayers and put ratepayers first in that process of depreciating the asset. Does that make sense?
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Senator Bell.
I believe this at least did a minute ago see somebody from the SEC over here. I'd love to hear their thoughts on this. You can't hide.
I tried to put the tall folks in front of me. Hi, I'm Kim Pate with the State Corporation Commission. And which question specifically do you want me to address?
Could you address the entire bill and your thoughts on it?
Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping that she doesn't address what we just got through doing. That's a waste of time if she discussed that part. That was the whole bill, really. So I'm hoping you don't go back and discuss that again. We already voted on that part.
Would it help if I gave you an example of what this would do? Would that help?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to use a real-life example. So one of the units that they're looking at potentially impairing as a result of one of the other bills going through are the Chesterfield units, coal units. So if those were to be, the term we use is impaired. Impaired it just means shut down, or we're going to recognize it in a shorter period of time. So if that other bill passes and Dominion were to determine that the Chesterfield units were impaired, then they would go on and record on their books, per accounting purposes, that impairment. They would take that loss, they would record it on their income statement. It would be an immediate period cost, okay? So right now, under the current code, if they went on and negatively impacted their earnings in 2024 for this impairment, then that would be reflected that way in the triennial review in 2021. So if they impaired, it's about $600 million. So if they were to expense that $600 million in 2020, that would impact the earnings in 2020 that we review for the triennial review, okay? So what this bill would do is it still says that the other bill would have Chesterfield units impaired. They would expense $600 million, but it would allow the commission to determine whether that $600 million should all be impact the 2020 earnings or to amortize it over a period of time. And so that's how it does. Now, as far as there was a question concerning ratepayers versus the company and then the benefit. So if we were to spread the cost over a period of time, that unamortized balance would actually get a return, would get the carrying cost on that so that the company is made whole for that. So there is a balance that way. It doesn't say that in there, but that would be implicit in it.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, I have a question. Are you comfortable that it's a Section 1 bill, which means it's not in the code? Is this the kind of thing that makes any difference to you? The Section 1 bill is in the actual assembly, but it's not in the
Yes.
code.
And
Don't
I'm going to
anybody
phone
would know about it.
phone a friend, my attorney on this one, because I'm an accountant. I understand how it works, but I'll pass it over at that point.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Edwards, Arlen Wilson with the commission. We've seen a lot of Section 1 bills over the years. Sometimes they end up being codified in the code after the session, but I don't think that's a factor here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bills before us. Any other suggested amendments or motions? Second. All right, there's been a motion and a second to report House Bill 528. All those in favor record your vote aye. Or opposed nay. I'll go nay.
Aye 6, no 6.
Mr. Chair, can we do a revote on that? I forgot to put my proxy here, so.
All right. Okay, strike the board. All right. All those in favor of reporting?
Mr. Chairman, just because somebody doesn't like the way that the final vote is taken, doesn't mean you strike the board and start over.
Well,
There are other ways to do it.
All right, I'll try to be accommodating. I'll move, having voted on the prevailing side, which was that failing to report the bill, I'll move we reconsider the vote by which the bill did not get reported, 528. All those in favor of reconsidering, vote aye. All right.
That's 15, no 0.
Bill is back before us. All right. Parker, you ready? Yeah. All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, nay.
Who's got Lewis there?
Who got Lewis?
He does.
Ayes 9, no 6.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next, it's, hold on. 9-6. That's reported. Okay, Delegate Keene. All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members. I have
three bills in front of you. And,
Yeah, Delegate King, let's make it as easy and quick as we can.
Sure.
572 is similar to Senator
That's right.
McClellan's.
Senate Bill
SB
710, right?
710.
Sure.
So what we'll do is we'll conform yours to hers.
That's right, Mr.
And,
Chair.
All right, is there a motion to conform to 710? All right, as a substitute, and then all those in favor of conforming it, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, it's now before us as a substitute. Okay, all right, there's a motion to report and a second. All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, 573.
Yeah, there's not been a Senate version of this one. Members might recall a couple of years ago, we created, as part of the grid mod bill, there was a pilot program to create some community solar. And right now, there is no criteria that looks at low-income housing, low-income consumers. So this bill would essentially add as one of the criteria that the utilities can look at to see if they can create community solar within a low-income community, and low-income is defined in the code. And so that's all it would really do, is just allow for more low-income folks to also be able to benefit from community solar.
In other words, what you have here is requires the utility to select for dedication to its community solar pilot program one or more generating facilities that are located within a low-income community as a condition for the selection or for dedication to the program, any eligible generating facility. Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, so we're just adding one more criteria for the utilities to consider the low-income aspect in addition to the other pilot that they might do.
All right, any questions to the patron? Senator Newman.
Delegate Keem.
Sure.
Where did the cost go? In other words, if it will be more expensive to gather these costs, will they be spread upon all the other ratepayers? Is that the plan?
Mr. Chair, I'd answer Senator Newman that this is an existing pilot program, so the costs are already spread out. Regardless of who else comes in, it's already a dedicated pilot program, so there wouldn't be any additional costs regardless of who the ultimate beneficiary is. There are beneficiaries now, so among them, the utility would just decide who they would choose to give the preference to.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, those in favor?
Move the report, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. Those in favor want to utter a word? Keep it brief. Anyone opposed? All right, no one's, is anyone
Move the
there?
report.
All right, motion to report. And a second. All those in favor of reporting, say aye. Vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you got.
On House Bill 575, I want to start with a substitute that the council has. At the appropriate time, I'd be happy to explain the substitute and the bill as well.
I want you to explain the difference.
Sure, Mr. Chair. The reason why we had to draft a substitute is, you might recall, the big bill that we have this year, the Clean Energy Bill, there's similar language in there that looks at energy efficiency, and along the way in the last 3 or 4 weeks, a lot of that language has changed, and we're trying to keep this language to the extent that we can to be as consistent as much as possible with the larger bill.
So this is not in conflict with the large.
That's what we're trying to do, at least the current version anyway.
All right.
So, yeah.
All right, there's a motion to adopt the substitute.
So move.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. We adopt the substitute to House Bill 575. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, explain exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members. So a couple of years ago in the other bill, the grid mod bill, we created a stakeholdering process for both Dominion and for APCO, as they're spending roughly $1 billion worth of energy efficiency programs. We wanted to make sure that they had the input of stakeholders and using the best available data. Just in the last couple of years, we've noticed that there are more information that's available, and there may be other stakeholders that could be part of the robust conversation. So this would basically enhance and expand the existing stakeholder process to allow for more voices to be heard and more data to be inputted. But as I just mentioned, because of some of the changes that have been happening in the last couple of weeks, we just want to make sure that this version of the language is as consistent as possible with other language that's in the chamber right now.
Okay. Anyone in opposition? Are you in favor? All right, come on up. Quickly, really, because we got a big agenda here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Lena Lewis with the Nature Conservancy, and we support this bill.
With who?
The Nature Conservancy,
Okay.
as members of the stakeholder process.
All right, anybody with an opposing view? Anybody, any opposition? All right, so I assume utilities are happy.
Yeah.
Pleased as punch.
Move the report.
All right, is there a motion to report? I need a second. All right, second. All those in favor of reporting 575 as amendment in the nature of a substitute, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. All right, you're done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
13-0.
All right, we've done reads. All right. Delegate Bourne. Is he here?
Nope.
Okay. Carol, is Carol? Yes. Carol, you're here. Okay. You have 432.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. House Bill 432. This bill will, in essence, allow a small or women minority-owned business to be competitive regarding state-funded projects by allowing up to their bid to be up to 3% higher and it not be deemed unreasonable and not prudent. The reason this bill is needed is to make small and women minority-owned businesses more competitive because oftentimes they do not have the resources or the established connections in order to be able to gain utility contracts. And with the number of utility contracts we have coming up, this is something that will be very beneficial. The lowest, usually, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Usually it's the lowest cost qualifying business that's automatically awarded the contract, but this will make them more viable by allowing their bids to be up to 3% higher.
Okay. So if, let's say, Dominion or Appalachia, was to get go out for bids and, just for the sake of math, the low bidder was $100, but there was a minority contractor at 103, then that would be acceptable if they chose the $103.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that will still be
Right.
deemed acceptable up to
Okay.
3%. Yes, sir.
Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would it mandate that the minority-owned business at a 3% increase would have to be selected, or is that just part of the option available?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would say to Senator Norman that no, they do not have to be. They just will not have to be deemed unreasonable and unprudent, so they will still be deemed competitive.
Thank you.
Right. All right, I see, any other questions of the patron? I see Mr. McGarry there chomping at the bit.
Thank you very much, Scott McGarry, Washington Gas. Enjoyed the opportunity to work with the patron and hope you'll find it appropriate to report this favorably. Thank you.
Okay.
No report.
All right. There's a motion to report Delegate Foy's bill. That's 432. Motion and a second. All those in favor of reporting House Bill 432, vote aye.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
All right. Reed, we done. Bourne here? Bourne's not here. No, next would be Mullen. Delegate Mullen? He's not here. All right. Delegate Jones?
Mr. Chair, I have 3 bills this evening, but I think, that's right. But the first one, I would entertain the committee to take House Bill 1634 by for the week.
Wait, 1634.
Yes, we are still sort of working with the
Well,
stakeholders.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to help you.
Okay.
All right, it says it's similar to Cervel's. We're going to conform it to Cervel's, report it out. You can go to the conference and
I
get it all
will
worked out.
not fight you on that.
Okay, all right, there's a motion and a second to conform House Bill 1634, Delegate Jones's bill, to Senator Cervel's 629 as a substitute. All those in favor of conforming it as a substitute, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the substitute's before us.
Move report.
All right, there's a motion to report and a second of reporting 1634 as an amendment in nature of substitute. Vote aye.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Okay. This will save you a lot of time and a lot of trouble.
I understand, Senator.
Okay.
I have 1133 and 1647. It's up to you which order you'd like to go in.
1133, you want to talk about that?
Sure. This bill simply declares that the construction or purchase of by a public utility prior to January 1, 2024 of one or more solar or wind facilities located on a previously developed project site that has an aggregate not in excess of 200 megawatts shall be declared in the public interest. And that is pretty simple, I think, and I'm happy to entertain any questions, and folks can speak on it if they like.
Mr. Chair, where'd the bill come from?
Mr. Chair, Senator Deeds, it came from the deep, dark recesses of my mind, but actually some stakeholders came to me in the off-season, and we think this will facilitate some alternative energy. here in
Mr.
the
Chair,
Commonwealth.
could you tell me which projects you're talking about?
Mr. Chair, Senator Deeds, Alexander McCauley for Powered by Facts. And this bill was developed by the Rubin Group and is a consensus exercise that we went through. It's designed to create a little bit of a nudge to encourage the development of solar facilities on brownfield sites and creates a subcategory within the 5,000 megawatts that y'all set aside in the GTSA. And so it just creates that little subcategory there.
I have a question.
Senator Norman.
Because it's an existing or incumbent facility, why do we have to state it's in the public interest?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Norman, you don't have to, but the thought was to create that nudge because of some reticence on the approval of these facilities in the past at the
Mr. Chairman,
commission.
This piece of legislation, were it crafted a little different, would be considered a special piece of legislation because it is targeted at one development. And unless there are others that are currently out there that falling into that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, my question is, if it is that narrow, we ought not be stating it's in the public interest.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair and Senator, I would tell Senator Norman that this bill is not targeted to one particular project. What it's intended to do is ensure that solar development doesn't only find its way to 100-acre plus projects. This is intended to give some smaller projects that are on smaller pieces of property a chance to compete, because right now the economies of scale don't necessarily allow them to do so in competing with some of the larger scale solar projects. So it basically just says for some of these projects, not any one particular project, that they should be given some consideration to the extent the costs might be slightly different as to the benefits of having them on these previously developed sites.
You support the bill?
Senator Sassel, yes, we do.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other opinions on the bill? Mr. Shippey?
Yes, sir. Members of the committee, Bob Shippey, we support the bill. Sierra Club.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Rachel Smucker with MDVCA, the Regional Solar Trade Association, we support this bill. Thank you.
Okay. Seems to be universal support.
Move report.
All right, there's a motion to report. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second to report 1133. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Okay. All right,
And the last one this evening, Senator, is House Bill 1647. And we actually have a substitute on this one as well.
yeah. Is this, are you conforming it to Senator McClellan 710?
I
'Cause
don't.
if you don't, we will. All right.
I see where the night is going, and so if that is the will of the committee, I won't stand in your way.
It's
You
late.
didn't just get here from Mars, did you?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, in an effort to be expedient and save the valuable time of Delegate Jones, I would move that we conform House Bill 1647 to Senate Bill 710.
All right, as a substitute. All right, all those in favor of conforming 1647, Delegate Jones's bill to, similar to Senator McClellan's SB 710, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, bills before us.
Move report.
Been a motion to report. All those in favor, vote aye. And Delegate Jones, you know, whatever difference you all want to work at, you can take hers, yours, and that, and you can go to conference and whatever.
I got a lot more free time tonight. We'll go work it out right now.
There, okay. All right. Let's hear that. All right, we're moving down. Delegate Lopez. You know, his bill, by the way, is also similar to 710, but we'll wait for him to get here. All right. House Bill 1526, Delegate Sullivan. Are these people actually in the House of Delegates? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I can help with that one. I move to pass the bill by indefinitely.
No, we won't do that.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Yeah. I don't see Delegate, all right, next is
Delegate
Delegate
Hayes.
Kilgore. All right.
Delegate.
You all did get notified, didn't you? All right, Delegate Hayes.
Yay.
There you go, all right. You get points just for showing up.
Thank you.
Delegate Hayes, also, it has here that your bill is similar to Senate Bill 860 Mason's and Senator Lucas's 998.
Yes,
So
sir.
rather than have three out there, my understanding is it's closer to Mason's. So
That is correct.
What we'll do is that, and then, you know, if you all, you know, can get it worked out in conference, if you need to have one, it's a whole lot easier to do it there than before a whole batch of committees out on the floor, this and that. You follow me?
I understand, Mr. Chairman, we appreciate it.
Okay, so is there a motion to conform?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
16
Wait. Conform to what?
I'm going to get to that.
860.
House Bill 1664 to Senate Bill 860 as an amendment in the nature of a substitute.
That's right.
Oh, it's just one amendment? Okay, so it's just as an amendment to, then we're not conforming it, well, we are, but
Mr. Chairman?
just as a one amendment.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If that's just one amendment, just one or two words, then why do we have to conform it?
Well, he may want to stick with his original version when we get there, but let's just go ahead and do that and get it moving, okay? All right, so.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question first?
Right.
Mr. Chair, what do you expect this to cost and how much profit will there be after the windmills are built?
Mr. Chairman, to Senator Deeds, this particular project, and we do have several members from the industry here, some of the costs involved with the project is still a little bit defined what that cost will be, because much of the comparisons of the costs are based on former models of dealing with offshore wind. One, from moving much of the parts from off the coast of Europe, where they're constructed and built and barged into the U.S., as opposed to in Hampton Roads, there's already a shipbuilding maritime industry with many of the skill sets that would be necessary to repair and build, construct some of the parts there as well.
But,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, it's fair to say that we're talking about billions of dollars in cost and then billions of dollars in
Overall,
profit.
I do apologize. Overall, you are correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
you're only talking about one word. So why are we going to this whole thing in for just one word? Tom, what is that one word, please?
Or.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Sproul on line 68, after people of color, strike and insert or.
One word.
All right. Do we hear a motion to accept? So moved. All right, second. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we amend House Bill 1664, which essentially makes it similar to 1860. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the bill as amended is before us.
Second.
Hold on. Anybody want to speak up in favor? Anybody? All right.
Mr. Chairman, you don't need to hold, I know disrespect to the patron, but this exact same bill that we heard from us, I can see why you have 5 or 10 speakers for one word.
All right.
No, these are just some folks in favor.
Okay. Just come up and state your organization.
Mr. Chairman and the committee, my name is Gil Bland. I'm President and CEO of the Urban League of Hampton Roads. We are the oldest civil rights organization in America, and in Hampton Roads, we have the 13th largest African-American population in the country, over 500,000. My personal background, I've been an entrepreneur for 35 years. I'm on the executive board of the Chamber of Commerce, and I also am the former chairman of the State Council of Higher Education, and I wanted to speak on the benefits of both education and commerce. In addition to the many benefits of renewable energy, we stand today in support of the offshore wind legislation because it's tremendous economic impact and job creation. And job creation for African-American residents are vital to us building healthier communities. Specifically, we believe the students at Old Dominion University and Tidewater Community College will be an important source of the workforce. Having ODU engage with offshore wind guarantees more employees in Hampton Roads. Secondly, the Port of Virginia will be a major beneficiary, and we've been told that it will add up to 14,000 jobs.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
here. All right, next, quickly.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Hayes Frommy with Orsted, largest offshore wind developer in the world. We support the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, having conformed the bill, I move to report.
All right. Okay, all right, y'all, all those in favor of it, you raise your hand. All right, there you go. All right, there's a motion to report as amended, 1664. All those-
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Just a little slowdown. We passed a bunch of bills, the last few bills. All of them are in the public interest, and all of them are going to cost my consumers a lot of money. And at some point, we're going to have to stop. Now, it may not be on this bill or the next bill, but they're all in the public interest. They're all reasonably imprudent. Not all of them are reasonably imprudent, but some of them are reasonably imprudent. And I got to tell you, my people got a 50% increase a couple years ago from AEP. It was bad. And we're just rolling through these things, and we're just adding more and more and more and more cost, declaring them to be in the public interest. And Mr. Chairman, I just thought at some point we ought to know why maybe some of us struggle a little bit with that, is because ratepayers are going to pay a tremendous amount of money for our actions we took tonight.
I got a question. Senator Norman.
I recall the companion bills on this, but I'd like to ask the delegate. I noticed down in the summary, it indicates under subparagraph D, it says, give priority to hiring local workers, including workers from historically economically disadvantaged communities. Would you have any objection to changing the word from priority to consideration? I just throw softballs out there so you can hit it.
I would say yes.
I'm sorry, sir?
I would say yes, Chairman, Senator Norman. Yes.
Thank you.
You said would he object or would he?
He said yes.
Yes, he said he would. He would object.
Chairman, as you mentioned earlier, and we concurred with you, this is also a bill, companion bill to Senator Mason's bill that has already passed the committee and passed the Senate. And any minor changes and so forth, we'd be happy to kind of discuss those during conference.
Okay. Well, you got the people that are gonna build this thing are all in support of the bill, and the only thing, Senator Newman, you're right, I mean, it's to do this, I mean, we've more or less made a policy as a nation that we're gonna move more and more towards a carbon-free society, and quite frankly, other than nuclear, I don't know how you get there other than renewables. I mean, I know it's not cheap, I realize that. But probably the cost of not doing stuff like this, probably in the long run, might wind up being a lot higher, particularly for the people who live down there in Tidewater. So anyway, all right, the bill's before us.
Good report.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to report.
Can I speak in opposition to the bill?
Pardon?
Can I speak in opposition to the bill?
All right, come on up.
I'll keep it brief. Thank you. Madeline Kelsey with Food and Water Watch.
What's your name?
Madeline Kelsey,
And you're with who?
a Food and Water Watch. Yes.
Food and Water Watch.
Yes. So we just have three major concerns with the bill. The language in the bill only applies to utility-owned and operated wind generating facilities. We would like language to include third-party owned and operated generating facilities. Also, the bill chooses simple combined cycle combustion turbine facilities as the most expensive comparison point. And we think that the utility scale solar facilities would be a more appropriate price point. And then finally, by some estimates, right now, this project will cost 3 times what they should. So we think there should be a line in the bill that explicitly says the SEC has oversight to ensure the reasonableness and prudence of cost. It's unclear right now.
It'll never get built if we do that, okay?
That's-
It'll never get built, all right?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Bell.
you said it'll cost 3 times. What's that based on?
Yes, so that is based off of information from the SEC. And I can get that to your office. I'm not an expert on the issue.
I'm seeing the SEC with a very confused look, if I'm
Okay.
reading that correctly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can ensure that we get you the correct information on that for that.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Bill- All right, thank you so much. The bill's before us. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report 1664. All those in favor, record your vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Everything she says is correct. It is.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Delegate Hayes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I saw Delegate Lopez sneak in here. Didn't you have a bill here? I did. I believe you did, and it's similar to 710, which is Senator McClellan. So we're going to do you a favor.
You are a great American.
Damn if I ain't. Do I hear a motion to conform?
Mr.
House-
Chairman, consistent with what we have done on the other bills that have had similar Senate bills, I would move that we conform Senator Lopez's 1184 to Senate Bill 710.
And now it becomes a substitute. I got a motion and a second to conform that to Senate Bill 710. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. The bill is now before us. Y'all can work it out in conference, okay?
Thank you, Senator.
All right, is there a motion to report? All right, motion second to report, House Bill 1184 is amendment in the nature of a substitute, making it, conforming it to 710. All those in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay. All right. You're done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right. Let's see. Sullivan and Kilgore showed up. All right. All right. Delegate Kilgore.
Yes, I have House Bill 1576.
Yes.
That deals with efficiency.
It's, what is it?
1576.
All right.
Deals with energy efficiency, and basically what this bill does, when we passed Senate Bill 966, we didn't put the opt-out language high enough, in my opinion. So what this bill does is raises the automatic opt-out language for industrial energy efficiency programs, and it would allow more industrial customers to pay for and receive benefits from utility run energy efficiency programs. And basically, this is one of the most impactful ways that we can keep from having to build, more and more generation capacity if we save energy. So that's what this bill is about, and it would restore it simply to the way it was used before Senate Bill 966. So that's all it does, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Questions of the patron? All right, those who support the bill, just quickly.
Mr. Chairman, Christopher West, representing Conservatives for Clean Energy, we support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Lena Lewis with the Nature Conservancy, we support the bill.
Walter Shepard with NRDC, we support the bill because energy efficiency is cheap. A lot of these large customers do want energy efficiency. When they tap it, it will lower costs for all. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Eric Reisman with the Virginia Chamber, and we support this initiative. Thank you.
Yes.
You're 1576, bill, but it's not totally consistent with these two bigger bills in each chamber.
Okay.
Would you mind if we amended it on the floor? I don't want to carry it over.
No problem.
Would you mind if we amended it on the floor so it was consistent with what Sullivan and McClellan are doing?
I have no problem with that, Mr. Chairman.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
That will make it consistent.
That's
All
fine.
right, is there anybody opposed to the bill? Anybody opposed to energy efficiency?
Cut the light out when I leave. Cut the light out when you leave.
Okay, all right, the bill's before us. All right, there's a motion to report going towards 1576. All those in favor, report your vote aye. Motion nay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's 14-0.
All right, Bill Reborn. Yes, sir. All right. Bill Reborn, your bill is similar to Senate Bill 376, which Suderline and Bell had, and we passed them by indefinitely.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say something on that real quick?
Sure.
When we heard those, we were focusing a lot of the attention with the stakeholders on Senator McClellan's bill. So we actually never really heard those individually.
I will hear them.
This has an efficiency piece in it, and it's not addressed in the McClellan bill. So it might be a good idea if we could either find a way to move this forward or pull that piece out and incorporate it in hers, because there is an efficiency piece in there that's not addressed anywhere else.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hear your bill and hear what it does. Okay?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 868 is a competition bill. It preserves current law and allows 100% competition and for folks, customers both large and small, to purchase a 100% renewable product as their energy. It provides access to renewable energy options for customers. More than 45 major Virginia employers, including companies like Target, Capital One, Walmart, Anthem, have all committed to powering exclusively renewable energy. Unfortunately, our framework doesn't necessarily make that easy or practical for those companies. And so this bill would again, just allow for current law to remain in place and allow a 100% renewable product to be purchased by customers. That's really kind of the bill, long and short.
Okay. Questions of the patron? All right, first we'll hear from those who support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Greg Habib, I'm here today on behalf of the Renewable Energy Buyers Alliance. REBA is made up of those large companies that Delegate Bourne just referred to, the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets. Those are the folks who want to buy competitive renewable energy in the marketplace. I want to make a couple points that you're going to hear. Some people have erroneously referred to this bill as a deregulation bill. It is a preservation of the current law. Right now, in the law in Virginia, if you have 100% renewable, you can go into the market and purchase that. If Dominion's tariff is granted, that will close that market. This isn't about deregulating or opening a market. It's about protecting the existing market. Senator Newman, as you talked about, your constituents care about their rates. This is an opportunity to go into the market and compete for better rates. This is a compete on rates bill. So it is not deregulation. Two other misconceptions you're going to hear. One is that it shifts cost to the remaining market. First of all, Delegate Sullivan's bill and Senator McClellan's bill has non-bypassable charge language in it that addresses what charges should pass on to folks who leave the marketplace. We offered to add this language. Delegate Bourne offered to add this language when we were talking to Dominion. They weren't agreeable to that, but we believe the Clean Economy Act actually will address that. So to the extent there are costs shifted, which we don't think there are, to the extent there are, that non-bypassable charge language would pick it up. Then the belts and suspenders of that is that nothing could be passed on to remaining rate payers anyways because the over-earning for Dominion. So it's not deregulation. There's no shifted cost. It's preserving a competitive market for those who want to buy 100% renewable.
Next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Angela Navarro with the Governor's Office, we support the bill. It gives customers the option who have corporate sustainability goals to be able to purchase 100% renewables. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Bob Shippey, Sierra Club, for the reasons stated prior, support the bill.
Thank you, Bob. Next.
Good afternoon. Scott Johnson on behalf of Energy. Energy, we provide 100% renewable in over 20 states. We'd like Virginia to be number 21.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and Senators. My name is Ron Cerniglia with Direct Energy. We've operated here in Virginia for over 10 years. Two quick facts. Renewable choice is flourishing in the Dominion service territory, and your constituents are benefiting from it. In fact, just don't take my word. Take the word from Dominion itself. Last week, it submitted a filing to the State Corporation Commission and said from December 2019 to just last week, February 18th, customer choice has accelerated from 1,500 to over 10,000 customers. And Senator Newman, to your point, these renewable products are priced up to 17% less than Dominion's system power products. Thank you, and please support this bill.
Next.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, my name is Will Reisinger, here speaking for Calpine Energy Solutions. Calpine is a licensed competitive service provider, which is licensed to sell retail electric energy in Virginia. We support the bill. This would preserve and protect the renewable market in Virginia that is working well today. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Sam Brumberg, Virginia's Electric Cooperative, support this bill. Thanks to the patron.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, again, Lena Lewis with the Nature Conservancy, we support this bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ken Hutchison on behalf of Vistra Energy. Vistra is the largest competitive service provider in the country with 39,000 megawatts of capacity at its disposal. We appreciate the delegates' patronage of this legislation to protect a choice that's been in existence for over 12 years. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Brian Gordon on behalf of the Apartment and Office Building Association. As one of the preceding speakers referenced, there is significant demand for this type of product, and indeed many of our members have in the recent months procured clean and renewable energy on the open market at up to 18% below Dominion's base rate, and that's something we'd like to preserve the ability to do. Please don't shut the door on that opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Dyer with Cozen O'Connor. Our client series is supported by this bill, which would preserve the ability for businesses and all customers to procure 100% renewable energy from both utilities and competitive providers. This will ensure customers are able to voluntarily access low-cost renewable energy resources.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Parker Slabaugh, the Virginia Food Industry Association. As the governor's office said,
Many of our members have very high sustainability goals that this bill will allow us to reach. It's good for business. We appreciate the patron bringing this bill.
Christopher West, representing Conservatives for Clean Energy. We support this bill.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Cal Whitehead on behalf of Covanta Energy. Covanta, a Virginia-based renewable energy company, supports this bill and hopes you will too. It creates a market and more buyers for their power that is made right here in Virginia. Please support it.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Town, Virginia LCV. We support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Reggie Jones representing Costco. Costco believes in providing choice to its customers, and they would like to have the choice in purchase of renewable energy. If you want to do something about economic development in Virginia, having that choice is really important to people who want to come to Virginia. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Harrison Wallace, Chesapeake Climate Action Network, Action Fund, we support the bill.
All right, next. Opposition, all right, come on up.
Mr. Chairman, John Watkins. I'm here representing Dominion Energy. It's interesting to me that one of the people that came forward and said that this is not deregulation. And if you look on Direct Energy's website, they say right off the bat, the road to electricity deregulation. That's what it is, and that's what is beginning right here. I would also point to the fact that of all the deregulated states, Virginia has a better rates than they do. One exception being Texas, and there the residential rate is 12 cents. Here in Virginia is 12.5 cents. The part that bothers me probably the most is the fact that it was brought up that Senator McClellan's bill had that non-bypassable factor in it. This doesn't. This doesn't have a non-bypassable factor in it. If you want to do this comprehensively, you should do it through that piece of legislation. But again, it is deregulation, and it's taking us down a path that we've been down before, and I would urge you to defeat this bill. Please keep in mind that in this session of the General Assembly, there are a lot of energy efficiency, carbon standards, renewable standards, and other mandates that are being placed on utilities. The question comes, are they now going to be avoided by all of these aggregators? Because that's what they want. They want to be able to avoid the higher costs that your residents and my residents are paying. So I would urge that we defeat this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Tony Clark. I'm a senior advisor at the law firm of Wilkinson Barker Nauer. I'm here at the request of Dominion as an expert witness on this. I'm a former FERC commissioner and a resident of Loudoun County. This really is deregulation by another means, but in a sense it does it in a more pernicious manner. I'm not sure, in my opinion, that it's going to increase green energy much, but I think it does increase the potential for iniquity between one cherry-picked class of very large C&I customers and everyone else that receives electricity here in Virginia. The reason that I say it accomplishes its goal through a more pernicious means is this. When you have a cost of service regulated environment, companies like AEP and Dominion, they have a franchise service territory. They have to serve every customer who comes in the door. They can't cherry pick their customers. They can't say, we don't want to serve this person, we only want to serve this large customer. And so when you build out a system and procure resources, and importantly generation, to supply electricity to all of your customers, you incur some long-term expenses. If you create a loophole by which certain cherry-picked customers can leave that system, all those stranded costs remain, and that's that issue of stranded costs that we've talked here about. The remaining customers have to pick that up, and so their rates will go up. That encourages more of the larger customers to get off the system, and it creates a vicious cycle by which the economics of the regulated cost of service environment are really destroyed.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you being here. May I ask a question?
Sure.
That's my concern. My concern about the bill is that I believe that if you're Costco or someone, you are going to get lower rates. You could. My concern is that we are bill after bill after bill raising the rates on everyone else, and that the stranded cost is going to be basically on my people, middle income people. I mean, am I wrong about that? I mean, is that what's going to happen?
Mr. Chairman and Senator, that's exactly the concern with bills like this, is it allows those stranded costs to remain on those customers who are not the most lucrative customers in the system. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Eric Risen with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be brief. We have some concerns surrounding the unpredictability of some of these rates for the ratepayer, so that's why we're speaking against.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Jefferson with Appalachian Power. Appalachian Power does have a 100% renewable tariff in Virginia. So this bill would open up that competition into our service territory. This body dealt with this issue for APCO last year on some cost shifting issues in this same section of the code. And my concern is as we open up this section 5, giving all retail customers the opportunity, it may not be full deregulation, but it's certainly partial deregulation, giving all retail customers the opportunity to purchase their energy from 100% renewables is a concern of ours. The thing that I want to really point out and stress to this committee is this. Appalachian Power, our service territory has been seeing a decline in load for a number of years now due to the loss of whether it's mining operations or whatever. We have been seeing a decline in load. We have adequate generation, but we have a declining load that's going on. So when you take this type of policy and you put it into play with a utility that is not making up ground with added load, then you're going to be shifting cost on the other ratepayers. So I respectfully ask you to oppose the bill.
Mr. Chair, committee, Jason Parker, Building Trades. We have concerns with the bill. We like to see the work here in Virginia. We applaud the renewables and all that, but we like to see Virginians making that energy for Virginian companies. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Norman.
once again, having played in the sandbox of various forms of generation for many years, I don't recall where we have embarked on any form of energy about deregulating it without a very deliberative process. And I compliment the delegate for coming forward with a meaningful piece of legislation. But, Mr. Chairman, I just think it would be precipitous for us to move down the path of deregulation at this time, and I would respectfully make a motion to carry the bill over for the year.
Second. There's a motion and a second to carry it over for the year. All those in favor of carrying it over for the year, vote aye. Those.
Ayes 10, noes 4.
All right, bill is carried over. All right. Delegate Mullen, you're next.
Out of the frying pan, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
You would say what?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
This bill, Delegate Mullen's bill is similar to the one by Senator Pike and Senator Bell that we PBI'd. So I moved to do the same.
Mr. Chair, I would say with the substitute that staff has with it right now, would turn this from a large-scale issue only into a pilot program that would have additional reviews by this committee. So it is no longer substantially similar if the committee was wishing to review and...
You have a substitute there. Mr. Stevens, quickly up. I don't see you there. Yeah.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the substitute to 889. All those in favor, say aye. All right, opposed? All right, substitute's adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair. The substitute authorizes an aggregation pilot program and allow 8 companies that have previously filed aggregation petitions to the SCC to qualify and participate in this program. It would be small in nature, and it would be able to be reviewed on a 2-year annual basis.
Hold on one, suspend for just a second, okay?
Sorry,
Got
there.
a little commotion here. I need you also to stand closer to the microphone.
I'm sorry, I'm partially deaf in my left ear anyway, so I have no idea what's happening half the time.
Oh? What you say?
What?
Let me assure you, it doesn't get better. All right, start over. Okay.
So the bill as it is now substituted would allow for single large energy users such as box retailers to be able to combine their energy loads across the state. This would, instead of, as the Senator was speaking about, be a whole-scale, massive change, this would instead be a pilot program that would explore whether or not this is successful, to see whether or not this is something that we want to embark on. As Senator just said, Senator Norman, that this is something that is a large-scale process, that if we were to go down, we would want to be clear and deliberative and thoughtful about it, and start small to be able to see if this is something that's successful, unsuccessful, or if this is something that is just sort of neutral to the process. And so that is why this creates a pilot program in which we can study this further going forward. Happy to answer any questions. I'm sure there's lines of people one way or the other.
Any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman, over here. So this, you are? Sorry.
Excuse me, Senator Mason.
This pilot program, are these some of the customers that were trying to keep the status quo before, or are you picking new pilot participants? They already in the game?
So these are already people who have made applications to the SEC. So these are all people who are pre-existing applications. And so this would not be opening it up to any old corporation that walks through. This is only for those who have previously applied.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Who's?
Right here, right here.
Oh, go, Senator Edwards.
Yeah, Delegate Mullen, it looks like this is like maybe I misread, like the bill we just passed by. Is that right?
So it is smaller in scope, based upon the recommendations of this committee that we should be exploring something like this, and does not just deal with 100% renewable products, and still deals with aggregation over the 5 megawatt level. And so what this is a pilot program to see whether or not this is something that would be successful or not, but it is a much smaller version of what we've been hearing
Mr.
about.
Chairman, where would this occur? Anywhere?
It would be based upon corporate entities as laid out there who have previously applied for
Where are they, Mr. Chairman, where are these applications from? Which area of the state?
They're not based on the areas of the state. So there are a number of corporations that have applied. So that's Walmart, Harris Teeter, Target, Kroger, Costco, Paramount, Contura, Cox Communications, and Safeway.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it would be, whether you think it's good, better, and different, it would be kind of a deregulation process that these people could get out from under the larger utilities.
It would be a 2-year pilot review of whether or not this is something that will have the kind of unintended consequences that people have met without opening it up across the state to all different ideas. This is only a pilot. Well, it could be a pirate program too, I don't know, but a pilot program.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, what is 275 megawatts? How many houses is that roughly?
Oh, goodness, I would phone a friend on a question like that.
Maybe you got a friend here.
Or maybe not a friend, but someone who knows the answer.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Murray with Dominion. So rule of thumb is 1 megawatt's about 250 homes. So let's do some quick math. Every 40 is 1,000, every 4 is 1,000 homes. So 70,000 homes or so, about 68,750.
That's a lot of people.
Mr.
Chairman.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, if I could on this.
Senator Bill.
I mean, to your point about this, at the beginning of this bill, it says non-residential.
Right, it's an equivalent of homes. These are big box stores.
Right, but I know this wouldn't be directly to homes per the last question.
The number is based on those applications that were filed. That is the basis.
Senator
for the number.
Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill Murray?
I taught Bill Murray's daughter in law school.
Bill, could you tell us what is the current status of the case you have before the FCC that deals
The
with this?
FCC ruled the Supreme Court appeal is going to be heard this week, I think maybe Thursday. It says one of the parties appealed to the Supreme Court. The commission, their decisions are appealable directly to the Supreme Court, and as I understand the hearings this week.
Yeah.
What did the SEC rule?
Mr. Chairman, if I could follow up, the last bill kind of came and went very quickly without a clear answer on this cost shifting issue. Some people say it shifts costs. Other people say it doesn't shift costs. What is your view on that? And then I'd like to hear from the patrons.
I will distinguish, the last bill you heard was about 100% green power. This bill is a different concept. Customers with 5 megawatts, for example, the shipyard's well above 5 megawatts. I don't know what their load is, but Newport News Shipbuilding well above 5 megawatts, absolute right to shop. The aggregation, the issue is, can you combine several stores together so that together collectively they hit the 5 megawatt threshold and you can competitively shop? The commission, as I recall the history of this case, allowed one company to aggregate. It was a Reynolds subsidiary. And then several other retailers applied. The commission turned them down, citing in part concerns about cost shifting. Having said all that, I'm just seeing this now, so not really in a position to react to it well. If the committee is meeting next week, parties may be better able to react to this with some time to read it.
Mr. Chairman. Bill? You're Bill.
Senator Lewis.
This pending litigation issue that you touched on, you and Senator Marsden touched on, can you flesh that out a little bit for those of us?
As I understand it, one of the parties in the case, not a utility, one of the customers that wished to shop appealed the SEC's decision, turning down their request to aggregate, and I believe the Supreme Court hearing on that's this week.
And in answer to your question, Senator Marsden, there are very intelligent people who can say that there are going to be great damage to the market with cost shifting or not, and this would be able to be an experiment to find out if there is at a very small scale.
Mr. Chairman, is this already going on right now, these relationships?
So at 5 megawatts or higher, you're allowed to shop, and there are companies throughout the Commonwealth who are shopping. But at this point, this would allow greater access to shopping for those people that are already using over 5 megawatts, but they're doing it in different physical places. Like I will eat as much as I can at Wawa, but each individual Wawa does not have a right to shop. That if you had all of the Wawas in the state, they certainly would. And so large industrial and commercial users are already allowed to do that at 5 megawatts.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Mullen, would you say then that the fact that this is just a pilot, if you will, that it would not have great impact on shifting costs because of the relatively small nature?
Yes, and that we will then be able to analyze, and the SEC would be guided in trying to make an analysis as to whether or not this is something.
Okay.
Bills before us. Any motions?
Move the PBI, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion to PBI. Is there a second? Motion and a second to pass by indefinitely. All those in favor of passing by definitely vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 8, no 6, 1 abstention.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Let's see, who's here? Delegate Delaney. I'll do that next. Okay, I'll do it after. Okay. All right, Delegate Delaney, you have House Bill 798.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. HB 798
prohibits an employer from discharging, disciplining, threatening, discriminating against, penalizing, or taking other retaliatory action against an employee who reports a violation or suspected violation of any federal or state law or regulation to a supervisor or to any government body or law enforcement official requested by a government body or law enforcement official to participate in an investigation or refuses to engage in a criminal act that would subject the employee to criminal liability. The bill before you recognizes that Virginia is lacking employee protections and makes it unlawful for an employee to discharge, discipline, and threaten to penalize or discriminate against an employee who, in good faith, reports a violation to proper authorities or participates in an investigation. This bill also takes into account the need for protections for law-abiding businesses to not have inaccurate claims against them. It protects the employer by ensuring that sensitive and protected data of the company is not disclosed and protects the company against slander. This bill is needed to ensure that workers are protected in the workplace.
Okay, essentially what you have is like a whistleblower bill.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. It extends the same protections that state employees currently have.
I think there was a similar bill in the Senate, but I don't, I mean, it seems to me the topic is familiar, but I don't know which one it is. All right, this is a bill essentially that protects whistleblowers. Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you have a similar bill or a larger bill that encompassed a portion of this? Because I'm having sort of a deja vu here.
Mr. Chairman, if the deja vu that's familiar to me, it wasn't my bill, but there was a bill that dealt specifically with non-retaliation for misclassification. So it was a more narrow scope to say that if you suspect that you're being misclassified or that your employer is engaging in misclassification, that you have these protections. This expands the protections to a wider, broader set of illegal activities.
All right, bills before us.
Move report.
All right, motion and a second to report House Bill 798, whistleblower protection. All those in favor, vote aye. All right.
Ayes 11, those 3.
All right, your bill's reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Okay. Delegate Sullivan, your bill is 1526.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And it's pretty similar. This is the big one, right?
This is the House version of Senator McClellan's
Right.
851.
So here's what we'll do. To save a lot of time and trouble, we'll conform yours to her. You conform, hers to yours. We'll confirm yours to hers. You over in the House do vice versa, and you work it out in conference.
Meet you in conference.
Yeah, that's a lot easier than 1 hour here and here, 1 hour on the floor, same thing over in your side, okay?
If that's the chairman's wish and the committee's wish, I'm happy to proceed that way.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move to conform House Bill 526 to Senate Bill 851 in the form of an amendment in the nature of substitute.
All right.
1526.
You've heard the motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of conforming House Bill 1526 in the form of an amendment in nature of a substitute to 851, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, can
Bills
I ask
before
a
us.
question?
Sure.
Before we act on this. Delegate Sullivan, and I ask you this just to maybe highlight a couple of differences that may emerge later on in the process. Am I correct in understanding that the bill that emerged from the House is one that allows cost recovery from consumers with certain exceptions?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, I think that's at a high level, that's true, certainly.
Okay.
Yes.
And one of the exceptions that is in both bills is low-income individuals, right?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, that is also true, yes.
Okay, but am I correct in understanding that the version that came out of the House had exceptions for maybe one very large economic development opportunity or company that is moving into a certain portion of Arlington, Northern Virginia? Is that built in there?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, I think the answer to that is no. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think maybe the answer might be yes, but I certainly defer. Does it also have an exception for the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Let me phone
So
a
we
friend on
can't-
that one. The Commonwealth, the governor's office is here to talk about that.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, the exemption that you're asking about is relative specifically to the offshore wind section?
I'm sorry?
Is the exemption you're asking about specifically relative to the offshore wind
That's
section?
right, for
Okay.
cost recovery.
Yeah, so it's actually not an exemption. The Commonwealth is not implicated in that language, but it's not an exemption. It's a direct purchase. So if a customer has more than 100 megawatts of demand and has a contract for more than 200 megawatts of renewables, which the Commonwealth does, then they could directly purchase from the company up to 15% of their load or 50 megawatts directly from the offshore wind facility. So that's how it's drafted.
Mr. Chairman, so that's kind of like deregulation, but just for the governor or the government.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, so this is actually to ensure that those customers are having that direct purchase so that they can retire those RECs on their behalf.
I know you like it, I get that, but how about for a large corporation? Do you also have an exception for the recovery of costs built in here for a large economic development opportunity in Northern Virginia?
Mr. Chairman, I would tell Senator Obenshain, this is not a carve-out or an exemption.
Are costs going to be recovered from them?
Mr. Chairman, I would tell Senator Obenshain that this is a cost reduction measure. It allows those customers to directly purchase from this facility so that ratepayers don't have to pay that portion of the cost. Ratepayers would pay less as a result of these customers directly purchasing, essentially taking off the top a share of the offshore wind investment.
Chairman, so that large corporation is deregulated as well?
Mr. Chairman, I would tell Senator Obenshain that that large corporation or whoever meets those criteria would still be a customer of the utility, but would purchase a portion of that offshore wind asset directly. That reduces the cost that would be spread to all other ratepayers. It's the same provision that's in Senator Mason's bill and Senator Lucas's bill as well.
All right, there's a motion before us now to report this bill as amendment in nature of a substitute. Senate Bill 1526. All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. Your bill's reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Oh, I want to announce that we're going to go to about 7:20, and then that'll be it for today. Okay? And we'll finish up next Monday. So hang around, all right? Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, we got Delegate Head sitting out here. He's been here for a long time. It looks like it's a simple bill.
All right, well, Samira has also been here. Delegate Samira, you come on up, and then Delegate Head, you're next. And then Carter, you'll be on deck, okay?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, pretty straightforward bill. We're just protecting minors from ultraviolet radiation. All the research points that it is a leading contributing factor for those under 35 for receiving melanoma, which is the second most common cancer for those that are under 35. The rate of being hit with melanoma or a skin cancer, to put it simply, increases as your age decreases, and we want to protect them.
What your bill essentially does says that if you're 18, if you're under 18, you can't even go in with parental permission.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Does it make it illegal for a parent to allow a child to do it at home?
The current status of the law allows those under the age of, between the ages of 16 and 18 to receive parental consent.
Now, I'm talking about, so you're making it illegal for a child to go into a commercial tanning salon within those constraints. But how about if a mom and dad have a tanning bed at home? Why not make it illegal for them, make it a Class 1 misdemeanor for mom and dad to allow the child to tan at home, too?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenshain, I don't think that it's easy to put a tanning bed in your house.
He's right. It's virtually impossible.
You tried?
Yeah, I tried, right. My tanning bed is called Honolulu, all right? And trust me, it ain't cheap. All right, okay. Any other questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman, do you take out the language, the owner shall obtain every 6 months signature of a parent of a prospective customer who's under 15 and not emancipated? You took that out. You just said anybody under 18 can't be there.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Edwards, that is correct. The overwhelming science indicates that under the age of 18, we need to protect those children from skin cancer.
Well, you've already got a parental requirement. Isn't it going a little far to say you can't even go there if you're under 18?
Those things don't burn up the end.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Edwards, it wouldn't be going far because the information regarding melanoma or skin cancer is not readily available for parents, especially not at a tanning facility when they're going to be potentially in this hypothetical taking their kid there and signing them off.
Essentially, it's just as dangerous with parental permission as it is without it.
Why not just ban them completely? Just ban them.
Well,
because you still got Ocean City and Virginia Beach. All right. All right. You all know what the bill, okay, those in favor of the bill, quickly come up and, who you are and no more than a few words. Really, we're pressed for time.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kelly Fitzgerald, and I'm representing the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. We are extremely in support of this bill. We thank the patron for bringing it forward, and we hope that you'll report it out this evening. Thank you.
I think it's
Just because he's got some people out of town who.
Okay, we'll take him next. Yes.
Members of the committee, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, my name is Jessica Payne. I'm a medical student here in Richmond, Virginia, and I just wanted to advocate for this bill. I think this bill has, it's important to me as a medical student and as a future physician because it has the capability to protect adolescents from developing skin cancer later in life.
Okay.
I recently cared for a 29-year-old patient named Melissa, lives in Henrico, has 2 kids, came in with a funny-looking mole on her arm. We biopsied it, and it actually turned out to be melanoma. One of her only risk factors for this was heavy tanning facility use as a teenager. Fortunately, it hadn't spread to her lymph nodes, but other young men and women might not be as fortunate. Again, I'd just like to emphasize how prevalent tanning facility use is in adolescents and how harmful it is.
All right.
Thank you.
Next.
Mr. Chairman, Kelsey Wilkinson with the Medical Society of Virginia. We support the bill and thank the patron.
All right. Anybody opposed to the bill?
Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Ryan Baker. I operate 25 indoor tanning salons, professional indoor tanning salons in the state of Virginia, Northern Virginia and Central. And we're definitely opposed to this bill. As you stated, there is parental consent at 15 and under. My company is really at the forefront of tanning responsibly in a non-burning fashion. And we self-regulate ourselves. We already do parental consent for under 18. We don't allow anybody under the age of 18 to come in without a parent present currently. We feel that it's working. We don't think we need to ban it completely. This is a family thing. And my second point, and I know we're pressed for time, but the biggest danger is 41% of all tanning is done outside of a professional indoor tanning salon. So that's houses, apartment complexes, gyms, and at home. And also, I did a quick Craigslist search for tanning beds for sale last Friday. These came up, 2 of them are $0. All they needed was somebody to come pick it up. So you can get a home indoor tanning unit for $0, and that's
Well,
what we're
they-
promoting.
They might have
with this
gotten rid
bill.
of it because they got cancer. All right.
I sure hope not,
Yeah.
but it's
All
telling
right.
you that there are beds out in the market for anybody that wants to have
All right.
one in their house. They can.
I understand.
For very cheap.
All right, next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joseph Levy. I'm the Director of Scientific Affairs for a group called American Sun Tanning Association. I'm also the developer of a group called International Smart Tan Network. I've developed tanning salon training for the last 27 years to teach people about sunburn prevention. I've met with many of you or many of your staff. The unintended consequence of this bill is that, as Ryan pointed out, almost half of all tanning today takes place in non-salon locations, in homes, in basement, in apartment complexes, in facilities that the state doesn't know about that are readily available. Those units are available. The unintended consequence is that 78% of teenagers sunburn outdoors right now, and that is the single largest risk factor for skin cancer. A sunbed delivers between 124 and 624 joules of energy in a salon that is regulated so that it is ramped up very slowly in a non-burning process. A day at the beach is in excess of 4,000 joules, okay? So should we be able to take this right away from parents when the data on this, and if we were sitting around with the stakeholders and with the proponents of the bill in a round table, we could say, wait a minute, the data that you presented do not come from studies that study professional tanning salons. There are sunbeds in those studies that are non-salon. There are sunbeds in those studies that are used by doctors. There are many doctors who refer people of all ages to tanning salons, and that does take place right now. So the unintended consequences is it takes the parent's choice away, but it does not lead to reduced risk because everybody is sunburning outdoors. We take sunburn advocacy very, very seriously. Senator Spruill has a bill right now so that young people can take sunscreen to, That is a whole nother part of the issue is that sun care is not one size fits all. For people of all different skin types, how we interact with the sun is very much different and needs to be taken into consideration that way. Senator Spruill has a bill right now so that young people can take sunscreen to school, which they can't. And we fully support that because we teach the use of sunscreen correctly outdoors.
We get the gist of what you're
So,
saying.
yeah, there's nuance to the issue, and we
Okay.
would be more than happy to sit around with the proponents to discuss why parental consent works better than what they proposed. And
All
that opportunity was not given to us. We've
All right.
reached out to them. They will not take the meeting. But
Okay.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. All right.
Mr. Chairman, so I obviously don't know anything about this, but they just told you 60% aren't going to be, or 40 to 50% won't be impacted by your bill because they're doing it somewhere else. Would you be willing to keep parental consent under 18 like the other gentleman said, rather than ban it outright, or you just insist on, you want to make sure you ban it outright?
Well, that's the current law.
No, under 15.
No, it's under 18.
Under 18's current law, you need parental consent. So you just
Above,
want to ban
above
it.
the age,
I
16
beg
and
your pardon.
above.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bill's before us. We got to do something. All right, there's been a motion to report. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor of reporting House Bill 38, record your vote aye. If you're opposed, nay.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Bill's reported.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you.
Okay, Delegate Head, you're next. Where's Delegate Head? There you are.
Here, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
We have House Bill 822. This is a continuation of a process we started a couple of years ago with credentialing. The idea was to speed up credentialing for physicians that had moved from one location to another location, and they couldn't bill for their services until they were credentialed. And when we set up the mechanism that once they had turned all their paperwork in, they couldn't bill until they had been credentialed, but then they could go back and bill in arrears for everything from the time they had filed the paperwork. This just adds anybody else that would be credentialed. We had folks, nurse
So they could bill
practitioners.
while the process is underway.
Right, we've done this, it's worked well, and this just, anybody else that needs credentialing puts them in the same posture.
All right.
There is, I believe, a line amendment that DMAS asked us to have for the bill as it came out of the House.
Mr. Stevens or Charles Quagliata, y'all, Mr. Quagliata?
Mr.
you
Chairman,
got it?
Delegate
Wanna grab
Head, on line 58, after within, strike 15 business and insert 30, so it would be within 30 days.
So it goes from 15 to 30?
Yes, sir. Mr.
Okay, all right. There's been a motion and a second to extend the 15 to 30 days. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the bill's before us.
Move the report as amended.
Does anyone want to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone opposed? Be quick.
Clark Barano, Medical Society of Virginia, we support the bill.
You support the bill.
I'm Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. I just want to remind everybody that this applies to folks we contract with. That's all.
All right. All right, bills before us.
Move the report.
All right, motion
Go ahead
and
then.
a second to report. All those in favor of reporting House Bill 822 as amended, vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
That's 14-0.
Reported.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, wait, no, Delegate Carter, and then you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of bills, but I'll try to be quick.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I've discussed with Delegate Carter, Senator Barker and I are working with, on House Bill 66 and plan to have maybe an amendment next week, and we'd like for that bill to go by for the day.
All right, House Bill 66, by for the day. Okay. Delegate Carter, you have House Bill 46.
Yes, Mr.
And you
Chairman.
have 56. All right, take 46.
I have 46, 55, and 56. And
Yeah, I have
66 went by for the day.
Yeah, okay. All right, 46, tell us about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 46 establishes a timely notification requirement for workers' compensation claims. There are 40 states that already have some form of timely notification requirement. So what this bill does is it says that when an employee files a workers' compensation claim, the employer has 30 days to make a determination and to report back to the claimant on what they intend to do with the claim. So there are three possible options. Number one is informing the claimant that they are going to approve the claim. Number two is informing the claimant that they are going to deny the claim and the reason for the denial. And number three is informing the claimant that they don't have sufficient information to make a determination and what information they still require from the claimant or from a third party. This bill comes with a letter of recommendation from JLARC, and we do have folks from JLARC here to answer any questions that you may have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any questions of the patron by the members of the committee? All right, those in support of the bill? All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. My name is Erin Rice, and I rise to speak on behalf of the Virginia Professional Firefighters, and we thank the patron for introducing the bill, and we support it.
Okay. Is there opposition? All right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. John Hurd on behalf of the Virginia Self-Insurers Association and also Metis Holdings, Inc. Under Virginia's current workers' compensation system, I would estimate that probably 85 to 90% of the workers' comp claims that are submitted, reviewed, paid, and closed are done so in a very, very short amount of time. This bill, as it's currently written, you've just heard, it's going to require the employer to respond in one of three ways within 30 days. That's okay, except it's going to unnecessarily increase cost on employers in a number of situations. First, with claims that involve a condition or disease that's covered under the presumption sections in the workers' compensation title, and that's section 652402, which deals with heart, hypertension, lung, and cancer. and also Section 652402.1, which deals with infectious diseases. There is no chance an employer will have received all the requisite medical records that they need to make a decision within 30 days.
Well, wouldn't they, under this bill, then say, well, I can't make the decision within 30 days?
That is exactly what they would do, but why require them to do that, spend the postage and time doing it, when you know already that that's going to be the answer? That's my point.
Mr. Chairman.
It's unnecessary.
Let me ask you something. Yeah. I mean, I had a chain of gas stations, Virginia and Maryland. I mean, if an employee got injured,
right.
I mean, you knew it right away. They went and got it taken care of, under workman's comp.
Right.
And what's the big deal?
Well, that's what I mentioned first, happens in 85 or 90% of the cases. When you're dealing with these presumptions, you need to know what the condition was of that person prior, and you may have to go way back getting the medical records. It's just a different situation.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Senator
Johnson, on these presumption cases, how long typically, is there a ballpark about how long it would take to gather all the necessary information?
It can take, what I'm told, it can take between 6 months and a year in a lot of cases to get all of these records. We don't know what we don't know at that point.
So, Mr. Chairman, so then the 30-day thing for those types of cases is just
That's
pie in the
correct.
sky?
That's correct.
And so you're always going to be in a position of having to say we don't have enough information?
That's right. And that's why I'm saying it's unnecessary, because you already know the answer.
Mr. Chairman.
The other issue I would like to address is the postage costs are going to be substantial under this bill for employers. And to avoid these costs and get responses to claimants in a quicker manner, we would suggest the bill be amended to allow for the employer to send that electronically via email in cases where the employee has already agreed that that would be an okay method of notification.
So if we did that, you'd support the bill?
I wouldn't oppose it.
Did you hear what he said?
I want to make those amendments where electronic notification.
Yeah.
Yeah. What it does is where the employee, you said agrees, that consents, that he can notify him electronically.
As well as the
Yeah,
presumption.
my advice would be to take that. All right, the amendment has been offered up. Is there a second? Second. All right, it's been moved and
Chairman,
seconded.
hold on, Mr. Chairman, you got a question?
I have another one.
Just the one.
All right, where are we?
So on line, after line 24, insert an employer may, if the employee consents, send any response required by this section to the employee by email.
All right. Motion? I'll move. All right, is there a second? All right, all those in favor of adopting the amendment you just heard, say aye. Aye. All right, opposed? All right, the bill's amended.
Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yes, Senator Lewis.
It just strikes me, I understand what Delegate Carter's trying to do, but based on what we've heard about these presumption cases and how not even within the ballpark of 30 days, the information is capable of being gathered, we're just setting up, I mean, it's just an impossible threshold for them, and they're going to constantly be in a position of responding within 30 days that they just don't know what they don't know. And so I'd have an amendment, suggested amendment, to take the presumption piece out of it.
All right, there's a motion. and a
Mr.
second.
Chairman, could I ask the patron a question before we vote on this?
Senator Bell.
Have you researched what other states do on this, just as a point of reference, and what is a normal time frame if there is such a thing?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Bell, there are approximately 40 other states that already do this, and the timeframes for those states are typically 14 or 21 days. So the 30-day threshold on this would be on the longer side of average.
Follow-on question?
Senator Bell.
I guess my follow-on is, do you have any information about how many times they're able to make and ascertain, accept or deny? Because it does seem like in some of these more difficult ones, they would just be giving that they don't have enough information and it might take a while before they actually come to the final determination.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Bell, I don't have that information readily available. Perhaps the folks from JLARC do. They did a rather extensive study on this subject.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Senator-
You early on referenced JLOC. What did JLOC say? I haven't read the report. And summarize.
Here they are.
Okay.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Brittany Utz from JLARC. I worked on this study. We did recommend implementing a timeframe for insurers to make decisions. Our recommendation was 30 days for making these decisions.
All right. Thanks.
Huh?
Don't leave. Mr. No. If I could ask the lady from JLARC, I did look at the report, shockingly enough. Help me understand under the presumption case where we know that there's got to be a greater accumulation of documentation on it as contrasted with a guy who's at work and slips and falls down and breaks his arm. Do you realistically think that they're going to be able to gather all that medical data in 30 days? And if they say they can't make a determination, isn't it still going to spread it out for whatever period of time it is?
I think, in answer to your question, the biggest thing that we were looking to address is the uncertainty that workers face in not hearing back from insurers. We did a survey of firefighters, and one of the most common challenges they cited was responses from the insurers and not hearing back. And so even if the response is that they need additional information and citing what additional information they would need, we felt that having some sort of response is better than no response at all.
All right, we got an amendment, there's an amendment that we need to vote on that would remove presumption.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have a question regarding that issue.
All right.
The bill does not say if the employer needs more information, it just says I need more information. That gives them more time, I assume, wouldn't it?
Correct. It would just, they would have to identify what additional information they would need in order to make
So,
that
in
determination.
the presumption situation, I guess they need more information. That it's already in the bill in effect.
Right, that's my understanding, is that is likely what would happen in presumption cases.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I think PTSD is going to take considerable, amounts of time to establish compared to other things that can be tested out more definitively
All right.
through medical science.
We have a motion, we need to vote.
Could that motion be explained, Mr. Chairman? I want to make sure I understand it.
Mr. Chairman,
Lewis.
Senator Lewis's motion was to remove claims under presumptions from the report 30-day requirement. So on line 12, after 65.2.601, insert that does not involve a condition or disease listed in section 65.2-402 or 65.2-402.1, which are the presumption sections.
May I ask Senator Lewis a question before we vote, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead, Senator.
On line number...
It's not my bill, but I'll answer.
Okay, well, just in terms of your amendment, on line number 14 through line number 16, about lacking sufficient information from the employer or third party to make such determination, is that not cover the same thing, or you just want to make double sure?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Eben, I would answer based on the testimony that we've heard that it is just a lead pipe certainty that you're not going to be able to have that information within that 30-day time, and that you're just setting up another hurdle in the process for the workers' comp. So,
thank you.
All right. All those in favor of, you've heard Senator Lewis's amendment, heard the explanation by our counsel. All those in favor of accepting the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. All right, let's record I'm in doubt. All right, all those in favor of accepting the amendment, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
As 806.
All right, the amendment's accepted. All right. All right, so you all no longer have an opinion on the bill. All right, everybody just sat down. All right, there's a motion, a second, to report the House Bill 46 as amended. Excuse me, all those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 14, no zero.
All right, bill's reported. All right, you have 56.
I also have 55, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, 55. Okay, let's do 55 then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 55 establishes worker cooperatives as a subtype of cooperative association. There are currently an indeterminate number of businesses in the Commonwealth that are operating as de facto worker cooperatives, but they're incorporated under sections of the code that are not necessarily tailored for that ownership structure. So some of them are incorporated as consumer cooperatives, some of them as LLCs or partnerships, and they sort of pinky swear to one another that they will abide by the tenets of a worker cooperative, which is a business that is owned and operated on an equal basis by the employees, and decisions are made on a one-person, one-vote basis. So on the small scale, what this looks like is a diner in Harrisonburg, which, they every so often, after they close down for the night, they bring out the balance sheet and the schedule, and they make decisions amongst themselves as far as who's going to have what hours and what to do with the money, the expenses getting paid and who's getting paid and all that. On the large scale, this could look like the Mondragon Corporation, which is the world's largest worker cooperative. It was founded in Spain in the 1950s and currently has 87,000 employee owners. It operates in 93 or 94 different countries. And in that time, they have, to my knowledge, never had a layoff because the people who would be laid off have a say in the decision making. And so the decision that tends to get made when times are tough is that everybody cinches their belts down a little bit and everybody gets through. So this bill is entirely permissive. It does not require anybody to do anything, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. This provides an opportunity for those who wish to start a worker cooperative or those who are currently operating a de facto worker cooperative to incorporate under articles that would more closely match their actual ownership structure.
Senator Norman.
Is this functioning in any other state right now?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Senator Norman, this functions in a number of different states, a number of different countries. There are, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but Vermont in particular uses worker cooperative ownership as one of the centerpieces to its thriving small farm support from their state legislature.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Is it any possibility that an ESOP could be considered to be a de facto worker cooperative?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Newman, an ESOP is somewhat different from a worker cooperative. Those with an ESOP could, again, conceivably pinky swear to each other that they're not going to allow more than one share per person. The difference between an ESOP as structured in the law and a worker cooperative as proposed in this bill is that an ESOP allows for the purchasing of additional shares. And so if someone has the money to purchase a single share, they get a single vote.
Mr. Chairman, you just can't, Mr. Chairman, you can't do that in ESOP. It's not the way an ESOP agreement works. My question, I guess, is very, very specific, and that is, under your bill, could an ESOP get entangled into a de facto worker cooperative?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Newman, they would be entirely different business structures. This would not require a currently existing ESOP to do anything.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Newman.
I'd like to make an amendment that clarifies that an ESOP shall not be a worker cooperative.
That what?
That an ESOP shall not be a worker cooperative. An ESOP is a IRS structure that is extremely important. It has some of the same definitions that are here, but you probably like both, but I hope we do that.
All right, you've heard, you got a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, second. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The bill is before us, and this will be, well, essentially maybe the last bill.
Hold on, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, who wants to testify in favor
No,
of it?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to know where that amendment would fit. Up in the definitions maybe, or?
On line 71 in the definitions of worker cooperative.
Okay.
Shall not include.
Okay.
All right. All right, those in favor of the bill? Anyone opposed to the bill? Anyone care about the bill? All right, bill's before us as amended.
I have a question on, I don't see in here where it says what it does. What am I missing?
Mr. Chairman, I would say to the senator that this establishes a new type of cooperative association. So the major impact this would have is when folks go to incorporate a cooperative association, they could elect to incorporate under this type of structure.
Okay.
All right.
All right, bill's before us. All right, is there a motion? Report. All right, there's been a motion to report. Is there a second? Second. All right, motion to report and a second. All those in favor, record your vote aye. It's as amended. Record your vote aye. All right. All right, the bills are reported. And I'll tell you, we're going to, that's going to be your last bill for today. Delegate Cole, you've been sitting there longer than anyone. We'll take you, Delegate Hurst, I called your name earlier.
I've been here since the beginning.
All right. All right, you'll be next, and that'll be it. Okay, Cole, what you got, Delegate Cole?
Mr. Chair, I promise, give me 2 preacher seconds and I'm going to be out of your way.
All right.
HB 416 is pretty simple. It prohibits an employer with more than 25 employees from requiring that a job applicant provide or disclose the prospective employee's wage or salary history. And this bill is nearly identical to SB 1059 introduced by Senator Favola last session. And this bill will combat the cycle of pay discrimination faced by many employees across the Commonwealth, including women, people of color, and other minorities in the workplace. So I would just ask it be the privilege of this committee to pass and report.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, I interview people all the time for jobs, and I ask them, so, what ballpark are you being paid now? Would I be in violation of your bill?
Yeah, if you have more than 25 employees,
I do.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Our law firm does it all.
Mr. Chairman, I just don't think we can do this. I mean, we do try.
Here's the problem. Take a law firm. Somebody making 150,000 goes to apply at a bigger firm, and you're saying we can't, ask you what you've earned. That's a problem.
Well, we already have, Glassdoor. You can have by what's going in the market, you can probably figure that out. 17 other states already do this, including Maryland, DC, and North Carolina. And when you make an offer, you can write them an offer letter and offer them something in that ballpark, and they can accept or refuse it.
Well, yeah, but you got them operate. You got the employee operating in the dark, and you got the employer operating in the dark. Therein lies the problem.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we carry the bill over, don't kill it, but carry the bill over and ask the state corporation, ask the Employment Commission to provide to the chair information about this bill.
Carry it over for the year.
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a motion to carry it over for the year. With a letter from the chairman to the Employment Commission. All right, is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of carrying it over the year with a letter to the Employment Commission asking them, is this, how this would go about being set up, and is it plausible? Given large companies, given law firms, given, research hospitals, things like that. All right, all those in favor say aye, vote aye. All right. Opposed, nay. All right.
Ayes 11, noes 1.
All right, Delegate Hurst, you're next.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What's your bill?
Have for you House Bill 622. Quite simply, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this would make it so that no employer shall discharge from employment, shall fire anyone, or take retaliatory action against an employee because the employee asked about or discussed with or disclosed to another employee about information about the employee's own wages or compensation. I believe Mr. Stevens has a line amendment to make to be language clarification in the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Hurst, thank you. On line 21, after information, strike unless and insert provided that.
Oh, God. Which one? What did we do with that? We just passed it, didn't we? All right, is there a motion? What's your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Hurst, on line 21, after information, strike unless and insert provided that. That sentence is trying to make sure that it doesn't prohibit those in HR from discussing an employee's compensation in
Okay.
furtherance of an investigation, and it's just clarifying what the sentence does.
All right, there's a motion, a second, accept the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, amendments.
Mr. Chairman, yeah. What gave rise to this bill? I mean, what happened?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Edwards, many workplaces, including some workplaces that I have worked in, have had official policies or sort of not spoken policies requiring employees to keep the amount they are paid secret and banning them from sharing this information with their coworkers. Recently, a study found that 19% of employees work in settings with formal policies against discussing salary information and or where workers can be punished for discussing their salaries. 61% of private sector workers surveyed reported that discussing their wages is either prohibited or discouraged. And as we're trying to close the gender and race pay gaps, empowering employees to be able to talk to each other about how much they're making seems to be a logical, good step towards trying to close that pay gap.
Okay. Any other questions of the patron? All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
I get what the delegate's trying to do, but I think there's a good reason why it's prohibited, because it's bad practice. It's bad practice to go around the office explaining, what you make and what other people make, and that does not help morale. It hurts businesses. So there's a reason why businesses can make a determination that they want to put this rule into effect, and if they do, it does help with office environment. I appreciate what's trying to be done, but I hope we would not do this one either. It's better than the one you introduced, which was maybe not as good.
Mr. Chairman, I understand what he's saying, and a lot of them, it does hurt morale when people start talking about who's getting paid what sometimes. But at the same time, all this does is they can't discharge you or retaliate if you do it.
All right.
Real briefly, Mr. Chair.
Senator Abney.
Just between these last two bills, I just wanted to point out, and the other bill was a bit different. In terms of pay discrimination, if you go to an employer, they ask what you make, you say you make $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year, and then they say, we're going to offer you $55,000 a year, even though other people are paid a different amount. You get there, you find out they're being paid $80,000 a year. That's where the pay discrimination starts to come into play. And if no one can know what anyone else is paid, and your employer is the only one who knows, and they must know what you used to make, that's how this stuff is perpetuated, regardless of what the answer is.
I don't, I'll be honest with you, I don't see the problem, because sooner or later, they're all going to find out, and once he finds out the guy that's making 50 while everybody's getting paid 80 is going to go look for a job somewhere else, and should. Anyway, all right, bills before us.
Move to report.
All right, motion and a second report. All those in favor of reporting House Bill 622, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. All right.
Ayes 9, noes 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Norman,
committee.
you want to reconsider?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, having voted on the prevailing side by which we reported House Bill 55, which was Delegate Carter's, I want to ask we reconsider it. And
Worker cooperative.
And he's got to come back in the next meeting anyway, because he has other bills, so I would just ask to pass it by for the day after that. So I would move to reconsider the vote by which we
All
reported
right,
House Bill
you heard the
55.
motion. All right, vote, cast your vote. And without objection, then bye for the day.
Yes, sir.
And our council will notify that it's been carried by for the day. There's no carrying by for the day next week, all right? That's it.
Well, we could.
Yeah, we could, but we're not. All right.
They'll die, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many more bills we have?
We got a few. We'll get through it. All right.
All right, take care.